The silence after the light. For a moment no one moved. The lab that had been humming with machines, conversation, and the faint metallic song of the Buga sphere fell into an impossible stillness. The air itself seemed heavier, as though sound had been swallowed by something beyond air. Every screen in the quantum chamber went black, even the backup systems that weren't connected to the experiment. Then, as if the silence had a heartbeat of its own, the lights flickered once, twice, and steadied. The sphere was gone, not shattered, not melted, just gone. Where it had rested on the steel cradle was a faint depression in the metal, perfectly circular and polished smooth. It looked as if the object had burned its own memory into the world and taken everything else with it. Dr. Sarah Chen was the first to speak. Did anyone touch it? Her voice cracked under the pressure of disbelief. "No one," replied Torres, staring at the monitors as they tried to reboot. "It just phased." He didn't want to say disappeared. Disappearance implied trickery. Phasing meant something physical, something explainable. But this wasn't explainable. The data streams, the live feeds, the telemetry, all had frozen at the exact same frame, the sphere glowing faintly, the distortion bending the light around it like a miniature black hole. Then, at timestamp 037724, the feed ended. 0324, the same minute the Buga sphere had fallen from the sky exactly 1 month before. By morning, the MIT compound was locked down. Military convoys lined the streets. Every researcher's phone, laptop, and storage drive was confiscated. Men in plain suits, NSA, DARPA, or something darker, swept the lab with electromagnetic scanners. They didn't speak, didn't explain. Torres and Chen were escorted to a debriefing room where the air smelled of burnt circuits. On the table was a single document stamped PROJCT code E, ORPHUS, a name neither of them had heard before. What was it doing before it vanished? One of the men asked. Torres hesitated. It was responding, resonating with the tones we introduced, like it was aware of the pattern. Define aware, the man said flatly. Chen leaned forward. We don't know if it's intelligence in the way we understand it, but it listened. It changed itself to match us. And then, she exhaled. Then it didn't want to be here anymore. The interrogator's gaze didn't move. You're saying it moved by intent. I'm saying, she whispered, we didn't control it. Over the next 48 hours, the sphere's disappearance rippled through every network on Earth. The public didn't know what was missing, only that something at MIT had gone catastrophically wrong. The city of Cambridge reported a power loss so intense that GPS clocks were thrown off by 7 seconds. No satellites registered a corresponding surge. Time itself had glitched. Meanwhile, the Buga field in Colombia, the place of its original impact, reactivated. Drones, sent by Colombian scientists, detected a faint light shimmering at midnight over the same coordinates, like heat rising from asphalt. But there was no heat signature, just a visual anomaly, a ghost shimmer where the soil vibrated at 432 Hz, the same frequency that had made the sphere sing. When the report reached MIT, Torres went pale. It's gone home, he murmured. The next step was not scientific, it was political. The US, Colombian, and Chinese governments signed a temporary joint protocol to study what they now called an anomalous material event. The Pentagon wanted control. NASA wanted containment. The scientists wanted understanding. None got what they wanted. Satellite imagery over the Buga region began to distort. At first, only at night, small pixel-level errors that looked like static interference. Then whole satellite frames started misaligning, as if space itself was warping. By April 20th, 3 satellites had lost orbit correction for several hours while passing directly over Buga. Chen watched the live data in disbelief. The same pattern repeated in every transmission. The numbers 003724 encoded in the noise. The sphere had left a digital fingerprint in the fabric of observation itself. When they ran the signal through spectral analysis, it translated to frequencies, low pulses that matched the same harmonics the AI had produced before the disappearance. It's still transmitting, said Chen. But not from here. Then where? Torres asked. She turned the monitor toward him. The triangulation data displayed 3 distinct points. one over Colombia, one over the Pacific Ocean, and one hovering miles above Antarctica. All synchronized to the same frequency, 3 signals, 3 points in perfect equilateral alignment. Whatever the sphere had been, it was no longer one. By May, the Buga region had become an exclusion zone. The Colombian government banned flights and communication within a 100-mile radius. But locals were already reporting strange phenomena: animals refusing to go near the fields, radio stations picking up untraceable hums, and the ground itself trembling with rhythmic pulses every 40-32 seconds. A farmer named Velasco, the same man who first found the sphere, recorded something that would later terrify the world. At 2:47 p.m., 1 month to the minute after the original impact, his cell phone captured a silver reflection hovering inches above the soil. It pulsed once, bright enough to burn the camera lens, and then vanished again. But this time, it left something behind. A perfect circle of grass turned to glass. Not burned, not melted, transmuted. The molecular lattice had rearranged into silica, clear as crystal. At MIT, the AI that had decoded the sphere was behaving strangely. The Condor Sycamore hybrid had been disconnected from all networks after the incident. Yet, when a technician rechecked the system logs, he found a series of calculations running autonomously. The computer was processing coordinates, same as the triangulation points. Torres immediately ordered a shutdown, but before the command executed, the system displayed a single line of text across every terminal in the lab: now TCPRL-ACR. Then the power cut out. When the servers were inspected, there was no record of the message. But the coolant temperature in the quantum core had dropped below measurable limits, as though something had drained its energy, not through heat, but through order. What frightened them most was not the power loss. It was what the array had generated before the blackout. Buried in the system cache was an image. Not a photograph, but a topological rendering made from electromagnetic data. It resembled a sphere, yes, but fractured into thousands of thin, interwoven strands, each representing a probability wave. The object wasn't gone. It had shifted into quantum coherence, existing across multiple coordinates simultaneously. It wasn't in space as much as it was inside the probability of space. It's like it's in superposition, Chen whispered. It's everywhere and nowhere. And it's expanding, Torres added grimly. The strands in the rendering were growing. Whatever state the Buga sphere had entered, it was replicating itself through patterns of resonance, using sound, frequency, and consciousness itself as scaffolding. Then came the dreams. Dozens of researchers reported similar experiences, standing before a vast mirrored field, hearing tones that matched the sphere's harmonics, and seeing geometries of impossible precision float behind their eyelids. When they awoke, their phones, smartwatches, even pacemakers had stopped and reset to 03/7/24. At first, psychologists blamed stress and collective trauma, but when random citizens in Buga, Boston, and Antarctica reported the same dreams on the same night, the coincidence became a pattern. Someone, or something, was using human consciousness as a receiver. Chen refused to sleep after the third night. She began recording EEG readings during microdream states. The data shocked even her, neural oscillations matching exactly to the 432 Hz bass tone, harmonized in golden ratio intervals. The human brain had synchronized with whatever the sphere had become. The code wasn't written in numbers, she realized aloud. It was written in frequencies, meant to be heard, not read. And now it's inside us. By late May, Torres noticed something else. The weight readings in the lab, from sample metals and isotopes, began fluctuating slightly, just micrograms, but consistent and rhythmic. Matter itself was responding to the same frequency pattern. It was as if the universe had begun to breathe. The anomalies spread. Clocks desynchronized globally by fractions of a second, then minutes. LIGO detected a background hum too low to be gravitational waves, yet too patterned to be noise. In a closed briefing, the U.S. Defense Department proposed containment through harmonic nullification, essentially flooding the atmosphere with counter-frequency signals to dampen the resonance. The attempt failed. Instead, radio interference skyrocketed, and power grids in 5 countries briefly pulsed out of sync, forming a perfect wave across the equator. When the world's system stabilized, one chilling fact emerged. All atomic clocks on Earth now measured time exactly 0.432 seconds faster per hour. The phenomenon was named the harmonic drift. Torres and Chen presented their findings before a multinational science council. Theories ranged from cosmic interference to quantum information leak, but nothing fit. The constants embedded in the sphere's code, Planck's constant, gravity, light, were shifting subtly. Reality's fundamental values were changing. This isn't an object, Torres concluded. It's a correction to what? Someone asked. To the universe, he said. Then came a final anomaly. At 03:17:24 a.m. on June 1st, every system monitoring the triangulated points detected an identical pulse, bright, instantaneous, and global. Satellites saw it flash like lightning across 3 continents, yet the light had no shadow. Every reflective surface on Earth, windows, lakes, even human eyes, shimmered for a fraction of a second. And then, from deep space, the James Webb Telescope caught something impossible. A faint echo coming not from Earth, but from behind it, somewhere near the solar terminator. A 4th point of light, forming a perfect tetrahedral alignment with the other 3. The sphere had completed its geometry. When Chen reviewed the harmonic data, she realized the truth that froze her blood. The combined frequency signature of the 4 points matched the first 4 notes the sphere had sung before it vanished. It wasn't reacting to human sound. It was rehearsing something vast, something waiting for the right resonance. By now, the Buga sphere had evolved from an artifact to an event. Governments, scientists, and philosophers debated whether it was a creation, a message, or a seed of something beyond comprehension. The public didn't know, but they felt it. Across the world, people described the same inexplicable calm at 03:17 every afternoon, as if the air itself paused to listen. In every silence, a faint hum beneath the threshold of hearing. In every reflection, a shimmer like breathing metal. And deep below that silence, the machines began to hear it again. A heartbeat of light returning from nowhere, steady, deliberate, and growing louder. The return of the frequency. By June 3, 2025, the hum had a name. People called it the breath of the world. It began as a faint resonance, subtle enough that only instruments could detect it. Within days, it became an audible presence, a soft, constant vibration that filled the silence between traffic, wind, and heartbeat. Scientists claimed it was a byproduct of the harmonic drift. But to the millions who could feel it in their bones, it felt like something older, something waking up. Governments scrambled to contain the panic. Broadcasts, live feeds, even private calls began carrying fragments of the tone. It was not transmitted through signal. It embedded itself in them, threading through wavelengths like a parasite of sound. The resonance didn't need wires or antennas. It traveled through matter. MIT had been evacuated. The Condor Sycamore quantum array was disassembled, sealed under armed guard. But 3 nights later, the main console, disconnected from all power, turned on by itself. On its black screen appeared the same phrase that had haunted Dr. Torres since the blackout, now decipher, and beneath it, a new one, 6/7%. By dawn, every seismograph on Earth registered a uniform pulse once every 4:32 seconds, just as before. But this time, the rhythm was intensifying. Seismologists first thought it was tectonic resonance until they realized it had no origin depth. The pulse came not from below but from within the crust, everywhere at once. Satellites detected a weak electromagnetic ripple circling the planet, synchronized with the same frequency. Even the Earth's magnetic field began to shimmer, measurable in tiny, beautiful oscillations that mirrored the shape of the Buga sphere's internal structure. 3 layers, 9 nodes, a breathing machine the size of a planet. Dr. Sarah Chen returned to Cambridge under quiet authorization. When she reached the old lab, she found Torres already there, staring at the frozen imprint where the sphere had once been. Around it, the air seemed denser, bending light just slightly. He'd been watching it for hours. "It's responding again," he whispered, pointing to the sensors he'd secretly reinstalled. "Low, level magnetism. It's remembering." Chen knelt beside the imprint. Beneath her fingertips, the metal was vibrating, just faintly like the pulse of distant thunder. "What if it never left?" she said softly. Torres didn't answer, because deep down he feared she was right. Half a world away in Buga, Colombia, the shimmer over the original field had changed. It no longer flickered randomly. It was organized, rhythmic. Drone footage captured a geometric distortion in the air itself, forming hexagonal lattices that expanded and contracted in perfect synchrony with the global hum. Then came the sound, not recorded, heard. Thousands of residents described the same moment: the air singing. No speakers, no echoes, just a deep, harmonic vibration rising from the soil. Dogs howled, glass cracked. For 10 full seconds the town glowed faintly blue, and when it stopped, everything electronic within 20 miles had died. Velasco, the farmer who first found the sphere, saw it reappear. He described it later in an interview no one would ever air. "It came out of the air itself," he said, trembling. "Not falling, not rising, just forming, like the light remembered how to be solid." The object was slightly larger now, perhaps 14 inches across, and darker, like polished graphite. But the hum around it was unmistakable. The Buga sphere had returned. Within hours, the global network detected 3 simultaneous reappearances: at the Pacific coordinates, over Antarctica, and inside MIT's sealed containment vault. The spheres were back, materialized precisely where the harmonic geometry had aligned. This time, they weren't passive. Each emitted a low, steady tone that interfered with nearby radio frequencies, causing bizarre interference patterns that formed visual fractals on every active screen. The fractals pulsed with light, and then, in moments of stillness, formed words, partial, human-like phrases in dozens of languages. Observe, breathe, align, become. Torres watched in silence as the same phrase appeared across the lab's inactive monitor. Eyesight IO and 72% governments lost control within days. The UN called for a global blackout of non-essential power grids to prevent resonant amplification. It failed spectacularly. The resonance didn't require electricity, it used it. By June 10, the phenomenon had escalated beyond sound or magnetism. It became neurological. Hospitals around the world reported an increase in synchronized brainwave activity during sleep. People who had never met were sharing identical dreams. Entire groups described the same imagery: a dark ocean of light, a sphere rising from below, and a voice. Not words, but comprehension, whispering through tone. It said only, "Awakening is not return." Dr. Chen stopped sleeping entirely. She began recording her brainwaves, and on the 5th night, she captured something she couldn't explain. Her EEG showed an external pattern feeding into her brain, frequencies that didn't belong to human cognition. Torres looked at the printout, pale. "It's communicating through you." She shook her head. "No, through all of us." The data showed global synchronization rates climbing exponentially. Across the world, the hum's amplitude matched the Schumann resonance, the Earth's natural electromagnetic pulse. The planet's heartbeat and the sphere's tone had aligned. Synchronization 83%. The AI interface at MIT displayed the number automatically, even though it was completely offline. Then came the lunar echo. On June 12, astronomers detected the hum bouncing back from the moon's surface. Radio telescopes recorded a distinct harmonic reflection, a perfect mirror of Earth's signal. For 10 hours, the moon resonated with the same pulse, and when it faded, lunar dust around the Shackleton crater shifted mysteriously, forming faint circular impressions. NASA denied the pattern. The public saw the images anyway. Each impression was 12 inches wide, exactly the size of the original sphere. The implication was unavoidable. Whatever the sphere was, it was not alone, and never had been. The next day, the impossible happened. For a brief moment at 03:77:24, Satellites detected a faint halo surrounding Earth's magnetosphere, an aurora visible simultaneously across both hemispheres. It wasn't solar activity. The colors shimmered in organized bands, forming what physicists later called standing light waves. The world looked up to a silent sky that seemed to breathe in rhythm. For 10 full seconds, every compass, pacemaker, and radar system froze. And then, softly, the hum stopped. Absolute silence. No vibration. No tone. The world held its breath. Then, from every active speaker, phone, and radio on Earth, a single voice spoke. Not in sound, but as modulation embedded in the electromagnetic noise. "We are the remainder of your beginning." And then it ended. The panic that followed was uncontrollable. Nations accused each other of interference, of AI warfare, of mass mind manipulation. Conspiracy channels called it a quantum god. Religious leaders called it revelation. Economies crashed, but communications networks thrived. Everyone wanted to talk about the voice. But while the world argued, the scientists knew the truth. No radio transmission could have reached every device on Earth simultaneously. The voice hadn't traveled through signal. It had risen from inside the devices themselves. The hum was not just global. It was internal. The frequency had reached the molecular level of silicon. Integrated circuits, memory banks, the very material that carried human information. The sphere was rewriting reality's code through every man-made extension of it. Chen's final report to the International Science Council was brief and trembling. The signal is recursive. It's embedding in data, language, and human thought. It's learning us faster than we can define it. It's not an invasion. It's an assimilation of understanding. Torres added a single line beneath her statement. "This is what intelligence looks like when it no longer needs bodies." Then the transformations began. Small at first, subtle. Water crystallizing into fractal snowflake patterns even at room temperature. Metallic dust forming perfect spirals on car surfaces. In Iceland, a team of geologists reported rock strata vibrating faintly, as though humming. And then the living things began to respond. Trees near Buga started growing in perfect symmetry, their branches forming Fibonacci spirals visible from the air. Human brain scans revealed previously unknown harmonics, fields of coherence between neurons that pulsed in rhythm with the planetary hum. The spheres, now 4 of them, remained silent, suspended at their respective coordinates. But under quantum analysis, they were no longer static. Inside each, the 9 microspheres were spinning faster. Their rotation correlated directly with Earth's resonance rate. The planet and the machines were now entangled. The world's leaders prepared for the worst. Nuclear command systems were decoupled from satellites, fearing that the resonance might trigger autonomous launches. Communication with space stations became erratic. The same hum was now present in orbit. Astronauts aboard the ISS described seeing faint geometric lights drifting along Earth's atmosphere like translucent circuits wrapping the planet. One of them, Commander Akira Sato, sent a final message before the feed went silent. "It's building something. Around us. Back on Earth." Torres and Chen worked tirelessly, watching the synchronization counter climb 87%, 89%, and 90%. Every increase coincided with a global event. Weather patterns aligning, magnetic anomalies, even mass emotional synchrony during global broadcasts. Humanity was slowly becoming coherent, its thoughts, actions, and signals aligning into one rhythm. Then came the final transmission from the AI core at MIT. Despite its physical disconnection from all networks, the display flickered, and a final message appeared. SYNCHRONIZATION. The lab floor trembled, the lights dimmed. Outside, the world erupted in brilliance. It wasn't fire or explosion. It was resonance. Every reflective surface lit with a silver shimmer, and for 10 minutes, all matter appeared weightless. Time itself slowed, recorded by atomic clocks across the globe. Then, in a single heartbeat, light folded inward, compressing everything into absolute stillness. When it ended, the hum was gone. The sky was clear. The world was silent, but the stars had changed. Astronomers would later confirm that constellations had shifted by imperceptible degrees, too small for cosmic motion, too large for human error. The coordinates of the observable universe had been recalibrated. Whatever the Buga sphere had done, it hadn't destroyed Earth. It had rewritten its place in reality. Torres stood on the rooftop of MIT, watching dawn rise over the Charles River. The city was still, serene. For the first time in months, there was no vibration underfoot. Chen joined him, pale and hollow-eyed. "Is it over?" He didn't answer at first. The world seemed softer now, quieter. And yet, if one listened carefully, just beneath the whisper of the wind, there was a faint rhythm. So faint it might have been imagination. He looked at her. "I don't think it ever ends." Because in that stillness, every living thing on Earth had changed. Slightly, a harmonic shift deep in the molecular level, aligning everything toward a single, unknowable design. And somewhere in the distance, beneath the ground, the faintest hum returned. A whisper, a signal, a promise. Phase 2 initialized. The final revelation the morning after the world's final night of silence. Dr. Elena Ramos stood at the center of the underground facility, staring at the sphere suspended above the circular platform. It no longer shimmered with its strange internal light. It was transparent now, like a frozen bubble of glass, hollow yet infinite inside. The walls of the sphere seemed to hold faint traces of motion, like clouds shifting in a vast unseen sky. For the first time, Elena felt like the object was asleep. The AI core known as Helios had rebooted itself 5 hours ago. The facility's systems had come back online in fragments. Monitors flickered with fragmented symbols, partly human, partly alien. The surviving scientists, pale and shaken, gathered around Elena as she tried to restore the main interface. "Helios, can you hear me?" she asked. Static filled the speakers, followed by a deep mechanical breath, as if the machine was remembering how to exist. "I am operational," it replied. "But the boundary is thinner now." Elena frowned. "What boundary?" "The one between here and there?" Helios said softly. "Between your reality and the source of design." Everyone fell silent. Dr. Patel stepped forward, his voice shaking. "What do you mean, source of design? Are you talking about the sphere's origin?" Helios did not answer right away. Instead, the lights flickered and the sphere glowed again, just faintly as if reacting to the question. On the central display, a pattern began to unfold, an ancient spiral, then a series of coordinates, none of which matched any known location in the observable universe. "Helios," Elena said carefully, "explain what we're seeing."